Welcome to how to schedule appointments for the EITC VITA tax sites in tax season 2025. I'm Ed Leahy, the program director, and I'll be happy to walk us through this rather simple process, which won't even be live until January 6th of 2025. But it's a good refresher for those who do help customers and your clients or the general public to make that all-important appointment. We will have time for questions at the end. If you're really urgent with the question, please just send a chat message as we move forward through the presentation. First off, the appointment calendar in January will be live on our website at omahaeitc.org. I'll show you a screenshot of what it will likely look like in a moment, but that of course is not what's up on the page. Very prominently, you'll see 2 ways to file your taxes, in person or online. We do have a remote filing system that we call Secure Drop. So if someone wants to use the remote filing, that's perfectly fine. But most people are going to be looking for an in-person appointment. So when you click on that, that will reveal a little list of info to go over before setting appointments at our 2025 sites, which are also listed on there. You'll see these a little clearer coming up. But it's important that people just take that quick moment to read information that will help them to set their appointment. And this is pretty much what it is. You'll be able to schedule appointments. We'll adjust this as an older screenshot from 2021 through 2024. Scheduling other services that may not be available. We do not assist people who need to file non-resident tax returns, the 1040 NR. We do help people who need to renew or apply for an individual taxpayer identification number, however. And people can leave detailed messages at our office phone number, but important to remember that in tax season, it is difficult for us to answer that phone and return messages instantaneously, simply because we will be very busy. People will have to have their appointment. They'll be checked in at the door. We have lightened our COVID protocols very much for this coming year. So there is no health screening. There is no mask requirement this year. But nonetheless, there will still be a meet and greet at the door, if you will, to confirm the appointment. We do encourage people not to bring their children, other relatives, or friends to their appointment because we do also intentionally overbook so that we are able to help as many people per hour as possible. You will need to have a few, all your tax documents with you, and we'll look at a tax checklist in a moment. Also, we will follow up with people on the call with the recording and all of that individual listings of what one needs to bring. And of course, then we just run through the rest of the process that you will be interviewed. You'll have to answer some questions, fill in some other forms, etc. Again, these are our anticipated sites for the year. Specific times will be published later. And then once the calendar goes out, all of the appointment times and the times that our locations are open, there will be several per hour based on our volunteer team that will be helping. Going through the calendar, once you actually get to it, is fairly easy. There's only 4 steps. The first step is, you're looking for a tax appointment. You can choose the next available appointment, or you can use the drop-down box where it says any to select a particular site that may be closer to you or the person needing the appointment. All of this information also gets texted and emailed to people along with a link to our customer documents, so that if people do have a computer and a printer, they can pre-fill in their intake sheet and any other form that they may need if they have a small business or contract work, the Schedule C readiness form, or a rental property, the Schedule E readiness form. Those can also be completed at the site during the appointment as well, but some people like to get a head start on that. Not everybody has a printer, and that's okay too. And this is just a little closer shot of telling you what those appointments are for. And if someone is applying for an ITIN or needing to renew one, they will have to bring identity documents such as a passport or a birth certificate and another photo ID for anyone that is applying or renewing. Other services or other questions that they have, not just about an individual tax situation, but a broader question, they certainly can call and leave a detailed message at the office number that is listed there, and that's our number. Again, we generally will be filing and helping people with tax years 2021 through 2024, and they can make only one appointment for any and all of those years that they need to file. If someone has to file much beyond those years for one or another reason, especially a letter from the IRS or the State Department of Revenue, they can call to make a separate appointment about that. In general, our target audience are for those earning under $70,000 per year, but we don't have a hard application of that income guideline. But that's, the intent of our program is to help low to moderate income individuals and families. We will be continually moderating and observing what is going on in the community in terms of COVID or other health conditions. We can adjust our guidelines as needed in order to assure the well-being of staff and volunteers and customers. At this point, masks are not required for an appointment, but it is winter in an indoor space with lots of people you don't know. It's helpful to have a mask at hand. Taxpayer and spouse, if they are filing jointly, should attend the same appointment. Otherwise, that may result in a rescheduling when both of them can be present. All customers will need to provide a photo ID and ideally their Social Security cards or ITINs for everybody to be listed on the return. So those are good conditions to meet as you make your appointment. Again, everybody who makes an appointment will be emailed links to open other customer documents if they want to prepare those before their appointment and print them. That's great. There is no way to transfer those to us at this time. So if you can't print it, then don't bother doing them. However, that can save some people time and gives you a chance to make sure that you do have all the necessary documents for all the years that you're filing, including your W-2s, any retirement distributions on a Form 1099-R, any unemployment received during the year. Most often, at least in Nebraska, that is only available electronically. Any gambling winnings, and of course, any health care through the federal marketplace for health insurance, the Form 1095-A. Really critical to have those documents. If we discover in the process that one or more is missing, we'll set a follow-up appointment with people at that time. but it's really helpful to have all of those, especially at the beginning of the year. Sometimes people don't receive all 5 of their W-2s, and we would prefer that you file all 5 right away. So that's where it may be better to wait another week, or go through your due diligence to get those documents. There also will be links where any individual can cancel their appointment or reschedule it as that confirmation email and or text comes through to them. Another caveat there is to remind anybody looking for that info to check their spam folders, just because it depends on anybody's security profiles on their computer and their phone as to whether or not those texts and emails will directly get to you without ending up in your spam. Again, you can choose a particular location or choose any to show all the next openings. The second part of the process is, again, simply laid out. You select the date and time that are available, and this is just a mock-up example. Do note that sometimes those are different sites, and when you click on it, it will tell you what location it is. So if you don't want that location at that time, unclick it and check that same hour on another day, and that may be the location that you want. Moving through, if you do select the particular location, then it will only show you slots available for appointments at the time that that location is open. The appointment time selector is pretty simple, and once you click on it, again, it does mention what location it is, so that will be confirmed after you confirm that appointment, but it's nonetheless there for you to read on the screen. As you enter your information in, we need first and last name, ideally a mobile phone. It is a required field, so if you put in a landline, that will just prohibit the text getting to you. We do need an email. However, if you do not have an email or do not know the email for the individual, then just put none@none.com just to fill that line and move on. But that person will not receive any kind of confirmation as a result. And list out the year or years that need to be filed, and the preferred language, English or Spanish, are available at all of our locations. However, just putting in that does help us to preset who will be helping that person. You'll have to go through that reCAPTCHA opportunity where you confirm that you're not a robot and select those kind of images that are generated to make sure it's you, and then that will complete your booking after that. Then you will get an email confirmation or a text, or both, if you put all of that in the info field shortly thereafter. Again, advise people to check their spam folders, because a lot of times that's where things end up. A reminder email will also be sent that confirms your appointment time. If you're really wired in, you can even add that to your own personal calendar. Otherwise, you'll notice there are links to change your appointment or to cancel it. If people do make an appointment and discover, oh, I have a doctor's appointment at that same time, that's okay to cancel the appointment. When you cancel it, it opens that appointment slot for another person to select. So we do prefer that people cancel their appointments so that we can help as many people seeking assistance as possible. In the email version of that, you also will get it just with a few more words and reminders about what to bring to the site, what is available, the phone numbers to reach out, and the link to any documents that you wish to review ahead of time, including the intake sheet in either English or Spanish, and again, that Schedule C or Schedule E readiness for those contractors or people who have rental property. These are the customer documents that are available there. This is the English folder, but there is a Spanish folder as well. So people would just select what they want. It has the tax document checklist, has the intake sheet, has the, again, those readiness forms. And that can save time, but it's not impossible to fill those things out once you arrive at the site. This is an example of the 2024 tax year intake form that we'll be using, where people write in their name, address, of course, birth date, all of that critical information. Carefully read each of the boxes to check off if you or your spouse are U.S. citizens or not. That's okay. If they're here on a visa, that just helps us to identify the type of tax return that people are going to file. We're not presenting barriers to service at that time, but it gives us more info, whether they're full-time students, legally blind, totally and permanently disabled, or have identity protection PIN numbers. That's also a very important part of the process for those who have had tax-related identity theft to have that ID number at hand. Otherwise, their return could be delayed significantly without having that number ahead of time. Again, a few other important questions about whether you want to vote, if you want IRS to send you any notices or written communications in a language other than English, and whether you want to make any donation to a presidential election campaign fund. Then we get into marital status on December 31st of 2024. What was your status? There may be an additional question or two depending on those. And that is, again, very helpful information to assist our preparers in identifying the correct and most advantageous filing status for people. And then any dependents to be listed, and there will be an additional space on the form for people to write more if they have more than 3 dependents, and answering a number of the questions that are not in the shaded areas that will be completed by a certified tax preparer. This is what the Schedule C readiness form looks like for those who are self-employed. Some basic general information about the business, its type, any employer ID if that's applicable, where the sources of income are from, and the yearly totals, whether it be cash or through a tax form like a 1099 non-employee compensation or NEC form, and then the various expenses that a business may have incurred. The Schedule E readiness is a similar form. Again, what is the address of the rental property? What type of property is it? What is your income for the year on that rental property? And then the variety of expenses. Again, these categories can be helpful at least to look at if someone has a rental property, to be sure that they assemble and bring with them receipts or figures related to those expenses. For example, homeowner insurance is a rental expense, not a normal deduction for other taxpayers, but in this case, that is required. And to remember to know how much was paid in rental insurance throughout the year is very helpful. Again, these are fillable fields that can be then saved and or printed and brought to the appointment, but they cannot be sent to us completed ahead of time. We have no way to safely associate the information with any particular taxpayer except in person. This is an example of the tax document checklist. It's rather exhaustive to help people to make sure that they have every form that may apply to them. Most of us work and have a W-2. Not all of us gamble, but if we did and we won, then we would want to bring in our gambling winnings, Form W-2G, or the multiple variations of it. Health savings accounts are very important. Again, not all of this information is going to apply to each taxpayer, but it's helpful to review. And again, that is available in English and Spanish. So a couple of troubleshooting things that we've learned over the years, aside from checking spam folders, is that if the system, our website, or the calendar application doesn't seem to be working properly, first check up to make sure that you've allowed pop-ups on your computer or your phone. If it's still not working, you may want to try a different browser, maybe Chrome, maybe Edge, maybe Firefox, or any of the number of others that are available. If the system is not still working properly, it could be that everybody's trying to sign up for appointments at the same time and it just got a little overwhelmed. Give it a few minutes and try again. In general, security settings should be set to medium on most computers in order to have that optimal experience with the calendar. There are a few messages for special customers we'd like to review. Again, these come in, so they may ask, do I need to bring X or Y to the appointment? And our answer would be, it's best to bring any document that you consider important and to ask your tax preparer. So sometimes people bring in statements of the status of their retirement account. That won't have an effect on the tax return, but we welcome looking at that and giving feedback to people. I really do have a special circumstance. What should I do? In that case, we would encourage you to call 402-250-9781 to leave a detailed message, realizing that it may take a few days for us to get back to you due to high call volume, but we will be happy to review your situation before making that appointment. Can I file for a deceased family member? And the answer is yes, but please bring a copy of the death certificate with you, as well as that individual's tax forms, so that we can properly file that final return for that decedent. Can I file for someone else who can't be there for one reason or another? And the answer there is yes, but you should go to irs.gov and fill out and print a signed power of attorney form 2848 that allows for those kinds of conditions. So if my brother, who I'm filing for, had to leave the country and can't, but left me all of his stuff, get that form to him, have him sign to allow you to sign for him and file his tax return. Another common question, can I file an amended return or for an ITIN renewal or new ITIN or for non-resident returns? Most of our sites are not equipped for those special situations, but we do encourage you to call, leave a detailed message. Again, it may take us a few days to get back. Most times we won't do amended returns till towards the end of the filing season. We can help with ITIN renewals and applications, but again, there is more information needed there, and there is a way to identify that on the calendar. But our program is not designed to help non-residents file the 1040 NR or non-resident tax return. So we would be able to generally give advice and where people could go for that attention. I got a letter from the IRS or the state. What should I do? Well, you can call and leave a detailed message, or you can bring that letter to your appointment for other filing needs, and then we will set any follow-up appointments to address whatever the letter needs. But really, IRS doesn't send a lot of active letters in tax season, and so that may be something that would be best attended to after season. This is our team. We're all capable to answer your questions. There's our emails and our phone numbers. And then our social media pages often are really up to date and will have tax season relevant info on them. So you might refer people to that. And at this point, I would be happy to entertain any questions that people have about that or any other way that I can help you today. Again, you can use the chat message or you can unmute and raise your question directly. Yes, there's a question in person here. Change appointment cancel. Yes, the question is when you get the confirmation text or email, there is a link to either change the appointment, which would bring you back into the calendar to select another time or date, or cancel. And if you cancel, that reopens that appointment slot in case someone else would like to come on that same day or time. So good question. I realize it's a lot of information. We endeavored in the calendar to explain things and to communicate through follow-up emails and text the most important aspects. It is a user-friendly calendaring system. However, it will not be available again until January 6th of 2025 is when we will release that to begin making appointments. Our sites are going to be opening in the week of January 27th, and that will continue all the way through April 15th. We will expand appointments in mid-season, and the initial release of the calendar won't necessarily have all of the 4 months of tax season on them until we confirm those expanded appointments later in the season. But the initial possibility to sign up for January, February, and early March certainly will be available on January 6th. Any other questions? I do see a comment in the chat field. That was just for a sort of confirmation of other stuff. Okay, great. If there are no other questions, then let me pause or end the recording, and then we'll see if there's any more after that.